Ethan Dawson, a curious soul with a penchant for the forgotten, loved exploring the dusty corners of his grandfather's attic. Every visit to the old house was an adventure, a journey into the past where each item held a story waiting to be uncovered. Cobwebs clung to forgotten treasures, whispering tales of bygone eras. The attic was a time capsule, preserving memories and secrets long forgotten by the world outside.
One rainy afternoon, I stumbled upon something peculiar amidst the antique furniture and shrouded lamps. The rain pattered against the window, creating a symphony that added to the eerie ambiance of the attic.
A vintage Atari 2600, its plastic casing adorned with unusual, almost gothic patterns, lay tucked away in a dusty trunk. It was unlike any console he had seen before, its design both intriguing and unsettling. The console seemed to beckon him, promising hours of retro gaming adventures. It was as if it had been waiting for him, calling out from the shadows of the past.
I carefully lifted the console, its weight surprisingly heavy. It felt solid, almost as if it was more than just a piece of old technology. Dusting it off, I found a single cartridge slotted inside. The dust danced in the air, illuminated by the faint light filtering through the attic window. The label was blank, the black rectangle reflecting the dim attic light like a void. It was mysterious, almost foreboding, as if it held secrets that were meant to stay hidden. An unfamiliar shiver ran down my spine, yet excitement bubbled in my chest. The thrill of discovery was intoxicating, but there was an undercurrent of unease that I couldn't shake.
This forgotten treasure, hidden away for years, was his now. It was a link to the past, a piece of history that had been waiting to be rediscovered. He couldn't wait to see what game it held. The possibilities were endless, and the anticipation was almost unbearable. Little did he know this was no ordinary find. The console and its cartridge held more than just a game. They held a story, a mystery that was about to unfold. This was the beginning of a nightmare. The attic, once a place of curiosity and adventure, was about to become the setting for a tale of terror and suspense. Ethan raced downstairs, his heart pounding with anticipation. The excitement was palpable, a tangible energy that seemed to electrify the air around him. He had been waiting for this moment ever since he discovered the dusty old box in the attic. The Atari, a relic from his father's childhood, held the allure of the unknown. It was more than just a piece of technology. It was a bridge to the past, a connection to a time he had never experienced but felt inexplicably drawn to. He carefully connected the console to his modern TV, a stark contrast of old and new. The sleek, high-definition screen seemed almost too advanced for the simple, blocky graphics of the Atari, yet there was something magical about the juxtaposition. Flickering to life, the screen displayed a static fuzz, a snowy landscape of black and white. It was a sight that was both familiar and foreign, a reminder of a time when technology was simpler, yet no less captivating.
I smiled, a familiar nostalgia washing over me, even though I'd never owned a console like this. It was as if I was tapping into a collective memory, a shared experience that transcended generations.
He pressed the power button on the console, its red glow illuminating the room. The glow was warm and inviting, a beacon that promised adventure and discovery. A low hum emanated from the console, a sound that seemed to vibrate deep within Ethan's bones. It was a hum that spoke of hidden secrets and untold stories, waiting to be uncovered. The static on the screen cleared, replaced by a title screen that sent a chill down his spine. It was a moment of revelation, a glimpse into a world that was both exciting and a little bit frightening. The words, "The Console of Lost Souls," flickered in an eerie, pixelated font. The title was ominous, hinting at mysteries and challenges that lay ahead. Below, a solitary figure, barely discernible, stood against a backdrop of a graveyard. The scene was haunting, a stark reminder of the game's dark and mysterious nature.
I felt a tremor of unease. It was a feeling that was hard to shake, a sense that I was about to embark on a journey into the unknown. It was just a game, I thought, trying to reassure myself. But the unease lingered, a persistent whisper at the back of my mind, trying to rationalize the sudden fear gripping me. The controller felt heavy in my hands, a weight that seemed to symbolize the gravity of the moment. I picked up the joystick, its plastic cold and oddly damp against my palm. It was a sensation that was both unsettling and thrilling, A reminder that I was about to step into a different world. I was ready to play. The room seemed to hold its breath, the air thick with anticipation. This was more than just a game. It was a journey into the past, a chance to experience a piece of history firsthand. As the game began, I felt a sense of connection, not just to the console, but to the generations of players who had come before me. It was a gift of the past, a treasure that had been passed down through time, waiting for me to discover it.
The game's objective was simple: navigate through a series of increasingly difficult mazes, collecting glowing orbs. Each maze was a labyrinth of twists and turns, designed to challenge the player's wits and reflexes. The glowing orbs, scattered throughout the maze, were the key to progressing to the next level. They shimmered with an inviting light, drawing the player deeper into the digital world. But the simplicity of the gameplay was betrayed by its unsettling atmosphere. The deeper you ventured into the game, the more the environment seemed to close in around you. The walls of the maze, once just digital barriers, began to feel like they were alive, pulsating with a malevolent energy. The graphics, though rudimentary, held a disturbing realism. Each pixel seemed meticulously placed to evoke a sense of dread. The characters, though simple in design, had an eerie, lifelike quality that made them unsettling to look at for too long. It was as if the game was designed to blur the line between the digital and the real. Shadows flickered at the edges of the screen, dancing in and out of view. They seemed to have a life of their own, moving independently of the game's programmed characters. These shadows were not just graphical glitches, they felt like entities watching your every move, seemingly independent of the pixelated characters. They would dart across the screen, disappearing just as quickly as they appeared, leaving you questioning if you had really seen them at all. It was as if the game was playing tricks on your mind, making you doubt your own senses. Whispers, faint and indistinct, emanated from the TV's speaker, growing louder as you progressed through the levels. They were not part of the game's soundtrack, but seemed to be coming from somewhere else, somewhere beyond the screen. These whispers were like a dark secret the game was trying to share with you, weaving a tapestry of unease around Ethan. The whispers seemed to know his name, calling out to him in a voice that was both familiar and alien. It was as if the game was reaching out to him, trying to pull him into its dark embrace.
As I progressed, the game grew more sinister. The mazes became darker, the walls closing in tighter, and the once inviting orbs now seemed like traps. The sense of dread grew with each step, each turn of the maze bringing me closer to something I couldn't quite see, but could feel lurking in the shadows. The whispers intensified, morphing into guttural chants, echoing through the digital corridors. These chants were not just sounds, but felt like incantations, spells being cast to draw me deeper into the game's dark world. They resonated with a primal fear, one that I couldn't shake off, the soundtrack to my descent into a digital nightmare. The music, once a simple background tune, now felt like a symphony of horror, each note designed to unsettle and disturb. It was as if the game was alive, feeding off my fear and growing stronger with each passing moment. The once brightly colored orbs now pulsed with an eerie red light, casting long, sinister shadows. They were no longer just objectives to collect, but seemed to be watching me, judging my every move. The red light felt like a warning, a signal that I was venturing into dangerous territory, casting unsettling reflections on my face. The light seemed to penetrate the screen, reaching out to touch me, to pull me into the game's dark world. It was as if the game was trying to merge with reality, to become a part of my world.
The air around him grew colder, a chill that seemed to seep into his very bones. It was a cold that was not just physical, but felt like it was coming from the game itself, reaching out to touch him, to draw him into its dark embrace, a stark contrast to the warmth of his room. The heater was on. The room should have been warm and cozy, but the cold from the game seemed to override it, creating a dissonance that was deeply unsettling. He felt a presence watching him, eyes that seemed to follow his every move. It was a feeling that was hard to shake off, a sense that he was not alone, that something or someone was in the room with him, watching, waiting. A feeling that extended beyond the confines of the game and into his reality. It was as if the game had crossed a boundary, merging with the real world, bringing its dark presence into his life. He looked around nervously, trying to find the source of the feeling, but there was nothing there. Just the oppressive sense of being watched. He tried to shake off the feeling, but it clung to him like a shroud. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't escape the sense of dread that the game had instilled in him. It was a fear that went beyond the screen, a fear that had become a part of him. This was no ordinary game. It was a portal to something dark and sinister, a gateway to a world of nightmares. The game was not just a piece of software, but a living entity, feeding off his fear, growing stronger with each passing moment. It was something far more sinister, a creation designed to blur the lines between reality and the digital world, to draw players into its dark embrace and never let them go. It was a game that was not just played but experienced, a journey into the shadows and the pixels.
Night after night, I found myself drawn back to the console. The outside world with its mundane routines faded into insignificance compared to the addictive terror of the game. I ignored calls from my friends, my homework lay forgotten, and my meals grew cold and unappetizing. The game had seeped into my life, its tendrils slowly ensnaring my sanity. My eyes, once bright and full of life, now bore the vacant stare of someone lost in a digital abyss. Each high score, each milestone I achieved came at a price. I felt myself growing weaker, my energy draining with every passing level. Sleep offered no escape. Nightmares, vivid and terrifying, plagued me, mirroring the pixelated horrors of the game. I was losing myself piece by piece to the console and its sinister game, yet I couldn't stop. The game had me in its grip, its hold tightening with each passing moment. I was trapped.
Ethan, I watched your transformation with growing concern. Your once vibrant personality had dimmed, replaced by a hollow shell consumed by the game. I had tried talking to you, but you brushed off my concerns, your eyes glazed over, your mind lost in the pixelated world of the console. One day, I brought you an article I had ripped from an old magazine. It spoke of haunted objects, cursed artifacts imbued with malevolent spirits. Ethan, I said, my voice trembling with worry, don't you see? This game, this console, it's doing this to you. You merely scoffed, your attention glued to the screen. It's just a game, Laura, you muttered, your voice flat and emotionless. Don't worry about it. I knew then that you were too far gone. The Ethan I knew, the boy who loved to laugh and explore the world with childlike wonder, was gone, lost in the digital abyss of the cursed console.
The air crackled with an unnatural energy as I reached the final level. I felt a presence within the game, watching my every move. The pixelated graveyard on the screen pulsed with an eerie light, and the solitary figure stood closer, its features now horrifyingly clear. Congratulations, a voice boomed from the TV, a voice that did not belong to the 8-bit chip of the console. It was deep, resonant, and filled with an ancient malice that chilled me to my core. You have reached the final level. Now your soul is mine. The figure on the screen reached out, its pixelated hand breaking free from the confines of the television. I screamed, a high-pitched shriek lost in the static that suddenly engulfed the room. Then silence. The only light came from the TV screen, where the solitary figure now stood triumphant, my terrified reflection staring back from within its pixelated eyes.